Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/Spotify.
This is the Anthony Cumia Show, whipping out the First Amendment and holstering the Second.
And again, we're asking, when do you cross the line?
Till now, I know technically it's still the weekend, but please, let's all be honest about Sundays. Saturday night happens, even kind of getting into early Sunday morning, Saturday night. If you're still hanging out, you're just thinking, ugh, Sunday. So I get it. That's why we all get together here for the Anthony Cumia Show and talk about all the wonderfulness happening in the world. What an uplifting program. Welcome, anyway. And like I said, I hope you did have a good weekend. I certainly did. I was out. I went out to dinner Friday night, and I had an experience that got me thinking about this country we live in, America, and how we were as a country, how we hope we can be again at some point as a country. But it's such a stark contrast to what we are as a country, especially in your bigger cities. You know, I left New York City because I just had it, like many people do. A lot of people don't have the capacity to just pick up and leave. I did. So I'm around Greenville, South Carolina, and I got to tell you, it's the difference in what you experience on a daily basis is so stark. It's just a huge change from New York, especially New York City. And when I came down here, a lot of people were like, well, you're going to miss the food at least, right? The New York food. And I start thinking and going, no, I don't think I am, because the food hasn't been really good in New York in a while. I got to just be honest. Little Italy, right? You get your pasta. No, I go to a place in Little Italy. It's those aren't Italians working there. I assure you. You can go to Little Italy. You can go to an Italian place. You can go to whatever it is. There are a couple of great steakhouses in New York and some really good restaurants. I get it. But it's not like it was so many years ago where if you left New York, you were settling for garbage pizza and horrible pasta and whatever kind of food you're into. It wasn't going to be as good. Well, that's not the case these days. I think my theory is that during COVID, especially, a lot of these chefs, a lot of these really good cooks in these famous New York City restaurants had it. With the places being closed, some of the states in the United States actually allowed people to open restaurants and act like human beings. So we got a lot of that all over the country. And down here, there is a lot of restaurants opening up that are very nice, very good food. And the service, this is the part that started getting me thinking. The whole experience, not just the food. We walked into this restaurant, it's packed, and there were no seats, tables, or at the bar. So, of course, we'll wait at the bar. You kind of stand there, you get a drink and hope for the best. And then I noticed there's this older couple, yes, believe it or not, older than me. And they're standing there, and they're looking at the bar, and they got a couple of drinks in their hands. And immediately, they're waiting too, and they were here first. They were waiting for the bar chairs to open up before we were. And I glanced over, and the guy glances over, and we give each other a head nod that completely works that out. We were both completely understanding of what was happening right at that moment. We both needed a seat for us and our significant other. They were there first, and without a word, we knew that was the case. It was common courtesy. You ever hear that, kids? Common courtesy. Something that I started seeing on such a rare instance when I was living in New York and in the city. It just, everyone is like a jackal. You're waiting for a seat and you're like a lion on the Serengeti, waiting to just disembowel a zebra for that seat. And I realized like that's something you don't see everywhere. That's something that seems to have gone to the wayside in this country. Things like courtesy, understanding. We didn't have to hash it out. We didn't need an interpreter to tell us what we understood, because we are both Americans, and we both know we live in a society that is based on things like courtesy and having a certain sense of morals, standards. You just understand what it's like to live in a civil society. And just watching that go away over the past few years, where everyone's out for themselves. And it struck me also in the bigger picture that it's a whole thing as far as this country goes. There are people that live here now because of legal or illegal immigration that don't care at all about America. And I'm not just talking the things we think about every day. You know, they don't like the government. They don't like the treatment they're getting. And they have to call everyone racist, or there's some problem. And the idea of waving a flag or putting a flag on your house, an American flag, is obscene to them. And that's a big part of what I'm talking about here too, because you have to understand what it is to be an American, to live in this country as an American. We've quickly gotten this misconception over the course of the years that because we live within a common border, that we're Americans. That's all it took. Like, hey, here we are. We live, and the map says I'm in America, so I'm an American. Meanwhile, I'll do anything I want. I'll bring horrible habits and cultures over from where I came from that are not conducive to living in this country. And I will not assimilate one bit. And I'll hold up the flag of my former nation, and I'll badmouth the country and its leadership and its people and its ideals. And yet they right away will jump and go, hey, I'm an American. I have rights. Don't say that or do that to me. Or, but they don't embrace what it is to be an American, not just living in borders. There's a whole method to the madness of being American. We have the same or similar ideology, ethics, and morality. We can go off and have our own opinions on things. Obviously, that's been the way it's been for many, many years. But we understand things. We don't need this big conversation to just understand that there are certain ways to behave as Americans in a society. And some of those are unspoken, like the gentleman and his lady at that restaurant. We just knew that's what you do. There are plenty of laws in this country, and you will face the consequences if you break those laws. But honestly, is it really the consequences of those laws that keep you from breaking the laws? Or do you just know better? Are you just a better person? Do you realize when we put together this American society and it grew, that there was a certain sense of morality and a certain way we behave that goes unspoken. We don't need the laws. It's not like many people, I don't think, would harm other people or kill other people or steal from other people if it wasn't for the laws. You know, oh, the laws are there. That's the only reason I'm not doing this. No. We all know we came to that agreement without it even having to really be written down. We just know that this is the way we act. We're charitable when need be. We're sympathetic and empathetic when need be. You know, we get pissed off and might say things and do things that we don't, because we don't agree with certain things. But on the whole, we were Americans. And this was something that lasted for quite some time. And we were raised that way. Our parents raised us that way. Even with some of their insane ideology, it got through. Right from wrong, things you do, things you don't do. And it just worked. And as we grew up, we understood that, and we grew into adulthood, and we got that we have to live with other people. And it's a lot easier if we go about that nicely and treat each other a little better. But there's just been this influx of people that have no concept of that. And I don't know, are they really to blame? Who knows? But it's just not a good thing. Selfish, arrogant, no sense of community whatsoever. And it's funny because they'll say that conservatives or Republicans have no sense of community because they seem cruel when it comes to things like welfare and bringing in illegal aliens from horrible nations. And why are we so mean like that? No, because there are rules to be followed. And some people, like I said, they get here and they don't understand those unspoken rules. Sit back for a little while if you just got here. Soak it in. Take a few breaths of air and look around and see what it's like to really be an American before you just start grabbing up at everything that is good for you and not very good for the nation as a whole. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Nice weekend of realizing I kind of live in a nice place with nice people, and it reminded me of maybe what this country should be. It was at some point, but what it should be. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, and we will rejoin you here with the Anthony Cumia Show.
This is the Anthony Cumia Show. It's the Anthony Cumia Show.
Another story from last week is, and this is something that's been happening a lot and has a lot of people worried. They're scared. Planes, the aviation industry. An American Airlines plane caught fire at the Denver airport. I guess they were, flying somewhere. The engine experienced some trouble. They landed. They were diverted to Denver, landed, and then and from what I saw from the videos, oh my God, a lot of the passengers had gone out of the emergency exit over the wings and were standing on the wing that the engine underneath was burning. It was on fire. And they were standing on the wing, like waiting for what? A ladder? Waiting for someone to invite them to step off what amounts to the giant fuel tank you're standing on that's got fire burning under it. I understand that a lot of times in these aviation emergencies, the flight crew, and they'll let you know these days, the flight crew, stewardesses, flight attendants, I'm sorry, will tell you that they are here for your safety. They certainly aren't here for your convenience anymore. That's for sure. So I guess they are just there for your safety, and that you must follow their directions implicitly. Well, I'm not going to stand on a wing that has a blast furnace burning under it and wait for instructions. I'm probably going to do whatever it takes to get down from the burning wing. But, people are sheep for the most part. They really don't know what's going on. I saw that last crash. There was some video from that one that flipped over because, I don't know what happened. A broad flying She turned the thing over. So there was video from it. And as people are running out the emergency exit, I saw in the background someone was still hanging upside down from their seatbelt. Just, I guess, waiting for, they didn't hear the seatbelt light. The ding didn't go off. You can now unbuckle. Some people, I don't think they have the ability to really work and improvise and kind of take it upon themselves, have a little initiative to do something like, save your own life. How about that? Too many people wait, and too many people get injured. Like this one, the slides came out, people slid down, and it's like 12 people were taken to the hospital with injuries. From a slide? How do people get hurt on the simplest little contraption like a blow-up slide? But this, again, the deeper story here is the aviation industry. And, I've been talking about this online for years. I saw it coming. I read the articles. Every so often you'd see Boeing would put out an article, or Delta, American, all of them would put out this little article about their DEI program, their diversity, equity, and inclusion program. So proud of it. Here's our director, a big 8x10 picture, and here's our director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And here are the goals to make sure we have a diverse workplace. We have stats that we want to reach. We want to reach these numbers. A certain amount of minorities and women and this in the next couple of years. That's our goal. Our number one goal, by the way. That's fine if it's Starbucks, something like that. What's going to happen? Someone messes up your latte. I learned this quite a few years ago. The majority of people that fly do not want to plummet. They never want to plummet. It's a terrible thing. There are many instances where plummeting is good. High dive board, maybe. Is that really plummeting, though? And I think the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the aviation industry might bring us closer to plummeting when all we wanted to do was get quickly from point A to point B. So it's quite frightening to see that this is something happening in the aviation industry. I hope it gets better. It looks like it is. They're trying to blame Trump for this, but it absolutely looks like it's getting better, because at least we're seeing it. When I'd look at these articles, they were frightening, because all you would read about is how they're getting people in that I have to assume aren't as qualified. You're somehow lowering the bar, and that bar needs to be consistently raised. It's never good enough. How about that? It's never good enough. So never even think of lowering it. I don't understand why they feel, I've heard this one. People want a pilot that looks like them. I want a pilot that looks like Sully Sullenberger. That's what I want. I want a pilot that looks like a guy that was strafing the road of death in an A-10 Warthog back in the Gulf War. That's the guy I want. I don't care if he looks like me. I don't care if he looks like my sister. I want him to be the most competent pilot. And as far as the ground crews go, mechanics, yeah, same thing. We'll be back in a moment.
The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FIELDGOAL. That's code FIELDGOAL for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Whipping out free speech. It's the Anthony Cumia.
This guy's a goof. I remember, and there's certain things you can never forget. You can't get them out of your head. You see a person, and you only see them for that. Presidential elections have been lost on so much. Dukakis with his dumb bobblehead sticking out of the tank during his presidential run, and who was that? Edwards? No, what was his name? The guy, Dean. It can ruin you. And I witnessed John Bolton at Fox News trying to balance on a kid's toy. It wasn't a skateboard. It wasn't a hoverboard. It was this kind of concave piece of plastic that you're supposed to balance on and work out on or something. And he got on this thing and just looked like someone should have been feeding him oatmeal and telling him he's doing a good job. I just saw it was like, oh no. And, on Red Eye, on Fox News years ago, Gutfeld hosted a show called Red Eye. And they had him on there and they played the clip and it was so embarrassing. And he was just a joke. And I never got that out of my head. And the guy is just, I don't know. He's an idiot. And he was on, I guess, MSNBC the other day. Of course, it's always MSNBC, or they're all the same anyway. It's all the propaganda wing of the left, the mainstream media. I know, I say it all the time. It sounds like a slogan at this point, but prove me wrong. Show me different. Show me that they're saying and doing things that aren't completely agenda driven. And yeah, I'll debate you on it, but I've not seen even the slightest indication that they do anything but shill for the left and the Democrats and the globalists, as Alex Jones says. They're all part of the globalist agenda. They're putting fluoride in the water to turn all the frogs gay. So, what are you going to do? We understand this. We know it. The media has the lowest approval rating that it's ever had. It constantly goes down. So I'm not surprised seeing all the lies and nonsense on mainstream media, but it's just something that even though you know it, every time you see it, you just go, oh, God, these people. So, former National Security Advisor John Bolton, he was talking about Trump and Trump's mission to bring peace to Russia and Ukraine. The only person, by the way, that has even spoken about trying to broker a peace between these two nations after years of just unbelievable loss to the people in both nations. It's terrible, just terrible what's going on over there. And all these war hawks, all these, they'll tell you how much they want peace. And then it's just too much money. It's too much money and power coming into them to keep this war going. Peace is terrible for them. And there's really no other reason for it. Why wouldn't you at least sit down and talk? They didn't even want to bring these two countries to the table. Trump, the only one going, we got to get together, like something. So Trump's been doing this. He's making some headway. You hear things. You don't know really what's the truth and what's rumor. I've heard that Zelensky definitely wants to sit down and talk. And even Putin has said he's at least willing to listen to the options of having peace talks, which is, again, more than they've ever said in the, what is it now, 5 years? I don't even know. that this has been going on. So kudos to Trump and anyone that truly wants peace in the region. But Bolton, here he is. Oh, good God. Bolton says Trump has one reason and one reason only for trying to get peace between Ukraine and Russia. Listen to this blithering buffoon.
Principals, Secretary of State Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz kind of do the talking?
Look, the pressure that Trump has put on for a ceasefire is motivated by one thing, Trump's desire for good publicity and to buttress his case to get a Nobel Peace Prize. You want a ceasefire between two warring parties, they need to decide it.
He thinks Trump is only doing this for the Nobel Prize that he'd probably get out of brokering a peace deal between the two nations. It's inconceivable that maybe Trump would like to see these two nations not wholesale murdering each other for another few years, as no one else even mentions it. Isn't it obvious that there's a concerted agenda against Donald Trump when he's literally talking about peace, about, hey, let's stop the slaughter. And they just can't get with it in any way, shape, or form. They just look and go, no. Who's saying this? Trump? No. That proves that there's an agenda there. And what a terrible agenda to keep a war going. What? Because you don't like somebody that wants to stop it. And then coming up with excuses. And let's just go off the rails here and say that the reason Donald Trump wants peace is because he wants a Nobel Prize. Is that really that bad? If it resulted in peace, you heard that old saying, the end justifies the means. If it resulted in peace, wouldn't you just be like, yeah, go enjoy, put your little Nobel Prize on your mantle, Donald, at Mar-a-Lago, right next to his golf. I won the golf competition. He won a golf competition today at his club. He's the club champion. Literally hours after he bombed the crap out of the Houthis in Yemen. He was still in his golf attire. You gotta love him. So, yeah, let's say that's the only reason that he wants peace, is to get himself a shiny new trophy for his mantle. Who cares? Who cares? John Bolton, a guy that just wants war. And it's this the whole thing of these politicians that want this to continue. And they seem like addicts that need some conflict going on somewhere, or they start jonesing. And the prospect of peace upsets them because they're so used to being part of world conflicts where they just broker death and destruction for their own riches and power, that when someone tries to rein it back, they start itching their arms and they need a fix. They go crazy. They got to start something somewhere else or they'll go nuts. If we really look at the situation, isn't a Russia at peace a better thing for everybody? If Putin is so bad, wouldn't you like to kind of get him into a peaceful mindset? That have a war going on where God knows how and when it could escalate if something happens. You know, when war is going on, some weird stuff happens. Countries do certain things. You might make a miscalculation. Whatever happens, it's like it could escalate it. When countries are at peace, look at us in China. We've been in so many proxy wars over the years with China that you can't even count them. During the Cold War, you know, we were constantly fighting China through using other countries. And we're really not in proxy wars with China for the most part now. We're in, corporate espionage wars. They try to steal every patent and item that we invent or come up with. We're in other types of economic wars with China. But it seems like when you strike up an economic relationship with a country, it gets really hard to go to war with them. It gets really difficult. You think China and the U.S. could come to some kind of shooting war where Chinese soldiers and American soldiers are facing each other, shooting at each other? It would be really tough because the entire global economy depends on us not shooting at each other. Russia, not necessarily celery. It's Russia, the old enemy, the old Soviet Union, still looked at by some as the bad guy, and the United States, freedom, justice for all kind of a thing. And we have to look at Russia constantly as this enemy of democracy. They even use that now with the Ukraine thing. Oh, Ukraine just wants their democracy. What? When was the last election they went to with this Zelensky guy? When was the last time he held an election? There's no democracy over there. They're not our ally. We might want to support them because we don't like Russia, but they're not our ally. So what good is it to keep this conflict going? Money. Yeah, Bolton knows it. All the politicians that are crowing about keeping this going and supporting Ukraine, all it is about the money that they make with government contracts, all these weapons manufacturers like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, all these. They make weapons. And then what happens? It's all about supply and demand. If you're making weapons and no one's blowing people up with them, you're going to have a supply, not enough demand. So people keep this cycle going. And that's all we've been looking at with this war. Why else would people not want peace between these two nations? And then the other excuse they use is that Russia is evil. Putin is evil. Russia's evil. I don't know if Putin's an evil guy. He seems to be a leader that wants to do the best thing for his country, what he believes is the best thing. Now, you could look at some maniacal leaders of the past and say the same thing. They thought they were doing great for their country. But whether he's evil and that's going to affect our way of life somehow because of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, I don't know. A peaceful region would be advantageous for the entire planet at this point. But I always bring up this analogy about the kid. He's trying to sleep, trying to go to bed, and he's scared, and he thinks there's a monster in the closet. And he yells for his dad, and his dad comes in, and there's two ways the father can play this. And this is how this is the option the government has. The monster in the closet is Russia. That's a monster. Now, you could keep it being a monster. You could tell the kid, I will put a chair against this door. I'm here for you. I'm right in the other room. And I will keep that monster from getting out and getting you. And the kid goes to sleep knowing that dad is the hero. And the government wants to be the hero. That Putin is a monster. Russia is evil. And they're trying to do away with your way of life. Or the dad could come in, open the closet, have the kid come over, take a look and go, see, there's no monster in here. There's just nothing in here to be afraid of. I'll leave it open. You could look in there. I'll turn a light on for you, whatever. But now the dad walks away and the kid goes, oh, there is no monster. That's nice to know. And the dad walks away having solved the problem, but without the kid looking at the dad to protect him in that instance anymore. He's just going, yeah, that's good. That's what dads should do. But the government wants to make you believe that there is a monster and we need to protect you from that monster. And in the meantime, the money just keeps rolling into these bastards. It's terrible because so many young people are dying. I never thought I'd get really sensitive to seeing the stuff. There are certain videos I just will not ever watch. I haven't, and I will never watch. Most of them are like the old Daniel Pearl video, beheadings. I have never watched one. I never will. I think there are some things that when you see them, they rip out part of your soul and you never, ever get it back. I never wanted to see that or hear it. You know, the audio isn't a treat either from what I'm told. But I always thought war stuff I could watch. The Gulf War especially. What is it? It's watching F-A-18s drop bombs on buildings. You could barely see it. You know, Schwarzkopf doing a briefing during the Gulf War, watching a truck roll across a bridge and just get blasted. And you go, dummy, look at that idiot. What we see coming out of Ukraine is man's inhumanity to man. It is disgustingly inhuman. And you see their eyes. You see the look in their eyes. Something that was very hard to see right before they die, by the way. You know, I remember growing up, the Vietnam War was going, and we would see films that were taken maybe earlier in the week. They'd get it to the U.S. It was not instant, you know. And a lot of it was censored, and you wanted to make sure you weren't going to put really graphic violence into the living rooms of America. Now you see these soldiers laying on the ground, staring up at a drone, and they could barely move, and they're just the agony and sense of defeat in their eyes is the hardest thing to watch. And, you know, that drone flies into them or drops something and they're gone. And I've become kind of sensitive to that, where I can't really watch that anymore either. I don't know. I said it last week that this can't be having a good effect on us for how good this war is supposed to be for us. We're told all the time we got to keep pumping money into Ukraine and fighting for democracy. The Ukrainian people need us. It's good for us. It'll keep Putin from expanding into the rest of Europe, and Americans will have to go into. And I hear all this stuff and I go, so this is good. Why am I feeling so terrible about it? Why is it affecting us? I believe psychologically, because we're so exposed to the graphic gruesomeness of real war this time around. You know, every one of these soldiers seems to have a camera on their head, and it makes it over here lickety split. And boy, oh boy, is it not good to watch. Like I said, I don't think it's healthy at all, by the way. But people don't seem to want peace. But Trump's trying. He's trying. I hope he does. Not just so he gets his little Nobel Prize. I mean, didn't Obama get a Nobel Prize for doing literally nothing? They just handed it to him because he was Obama. I think so. I think I remember that happening. So if Trump can get a Nobel Prize for actually assisting, at the least, in stopping this terrible, terrible war, then good for Trump and his new little bauble that he could put up on his trophy shelf. Sometimes I'm completely disgusted with what's going on in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we will return in moments. Don't go anywhere. This is the Anthony Cumia Show.
It's the Anthony Cumia Show. It's the Anthony Cumia Show.
Mamma mia. Anthony Cumia Show. This story had me, rolling, laughing. A federal judge, of course, orders the immediate hold on efforts by President Trump, to quickly deport Venezuelan nationals under the rarely used wartime powers intended to resist a foreign invasion. It's called the Alien Enemies Act. Alien Enemies. I just love the name of it, but and I love the fact that Trump is pulling up stuff from the 1700s. This will work, and whatever it takes. This, of course, is to try to deport some of these animals that have been allowed free reign in this country. Open border under Biden-Harris, and the amount of these gang members, violent gang members, that have been allowed to just traipse right across the border. How about they were flown to various parts of the country over the border by the Biden-Harris administration? We found out that was something that was really happening. Putting them on planes and delivering them to a neighborhood near you. Isn't that great? Where were the judges trying to stop that? I don't remember a judge trying to stop those flights while they were still in the air, have them turn around and bring them back to whatever crap hole, I'll say, that they came from. We don't hear that. That didn't happen. But when Donald Trump has to pull some 150, 180-year-old policy out of his hat to try to get rid of these guys and deport them ASAP, of course, there's some judge that wants to step in and stop it, again, because, number one, it's Trump, so we got to stop whatever he wants to do, regardless of how good it is for the country. So we got this U.S. District Judge James Boasberg. James Boasberg has decided that he would stop this. He ordered the Trump administration to immediately halt efforts to remove those Venezuelan migrants until he has more time to consider whether Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act was illegal. And he wanted the planes that were already boarding and some that were already in the air to stop, turn around, let them back off of these planes on American soil. That's a judge working in our best interest? I don't think so. And neither did the Trump administration or the National Security Advisor. They decided, go screw. We are continuing those flights. They flew a couple of hundred, almost 300 just hardened, terrible, awful gang leaders and gang members back to Venezuela, where I saw films of them getting off the plane. Ooh, it didn't look like they were getting a hero's welcome coming home. That is for sure. They were getting off these planes immediately into the hands of police, some type of law enforcement, maybe military down in Venezuela. And, they look worse than Con Air. And that looked pretty bad for those guys. So these judges need to be held accountable. And right before I went on air here tonight, I did hear that there is another judge that has started at least the process to get Judge Boasberg impeached, have him removed. This is, what would you call this, maybe comfort to the enemy? This Alien Enemies Act, years ago, it was for a foreign invasion. If a foreign army, let's say, is invading your country, you could take special actions to remove them. And I guess semantics seems to be a problem with this judge. He wants to know what the definition of invaders is and an army. Well, as I see it, you got these guys. What are they from? I love the name of their gang. Their gang. Oh, Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua. I am Tren de Aragua. We must deport them in Cordobas with rich Corinthian leather. What a great name they have, but they're horrible, horrible, horrible people. And Trump's trying to send them back. And what do we get? We get a judge saying, nope, they got to stay until I figure out what an invasion is. How about this? An invasion is a group of people coming that have some type of solidarity with each other over your borders without your permission and murdering your citizens. That sure sounds like an invasion to me. That sounds like something I would classify as an invasion. But again, we get judges like this who don't know what the hell they're doing, and they need to be thrown out. Let's get rid of them. Throw them out. Throw them out, damn you. We'll be right back in moments.
This is the Anthony Cumia Show, whipping out the First Amendment and holstering the Second.
And again, we're asking, when do you cross the line?
To get myself in trouble, but I have been relatively good. Anthony Cumia Show. Welcome back. The left sure likes violence, don't they? For talking about how understanding and sympathetic they are. Violence at the drop of a blue wig. They are violent people. And once again, they prove it with what's going on with Tesla and Elon Musk. The Teslas are being destroyed out there in dealerships. Drivers are having their cars vandalized. People are scraping swastikas into them and cutting the tires. It's ridiculous. Again, they're so lovely. They're such peaceful, understanding, educated people. Anytime you see people getting physical and really emotional and angry during a political debate, 99% of the time, it's the person on the left. They don't know how to react when they don't have any facts. They have pure emotion. That's it. They could sit and ramble on to each other about their politics because it's all based on emotion. How does that make you feel? Ugh, shut it. Facts. You hit them with facts that are irrefutable, concrete, mathematical, and they just can't take it. They lose their minds. They start hitting, throwing things, and lighting things on fire. That's what we've gotten from the unbelievable, great, peaceful left. The latest thing are the Tesla facilities. A lot of dealerships, factories, places that store Teslas have been broken into, and they're lighting them on fire. They are burning down. This is arson. I don't think anybody could argue that this is obviously a crime. The crime of arson. Arson is a very dangerous crime too, because you never know when someone's going to get killed doing it. You hear about people that I was just trying to burn the house down for the insurance money. Oh, there's a homeless guy living in there. Welcome to murder. Welcome to your murder rap, sir. So arson is, oh boy, that's tricky. That could escalate pretty quick. But again, this is all emotional-based morons. So they don't even look at a bigger picture or look 2 feet in front of their face to maybe think about the consequences that might happen if you decide to torch a place. But again, that's just like them. They're very stupid people. They profess to be so educated. We're college educated. And the people on the right, blue collar workers, didn't go to college. Some of them didn't even finish high school. And then when they're actually in an argument or a discussion with each other, they run away because they're incapable of having an intelligent debate about a topic. So the latest thing, these Tesla things, and MSNBC, of course, the liberal left-wing propaganda machine, they were talking about this and how much do you have to twist and pervert the truth to have it fill your agenda? Well, you listen to this and see where this dummy goes when she tries to say that this obvious vandalism and criminal arson is nothing more than a protest. Listen to this.
But then you also overnight have this post claiming that protests at Tesla dealerships are illegal. He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism. Now, you know I am judicious in how I play this sound, but I think you need to hear it from him.
Mr. President talks about some of the violence that's been going on around the country at dealerships. Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. Let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any company, we're going to catch you and you're going to go through hell.
So just to be clear, you protest a private company, you are labeled by this administration a domestic terrorist.
What? So let me get this clear. She just listened to the president say that violence against Tesla or any company, he didn't even single out just Tesla, any company. And that makes perfect sense. If you have a political agenda and you want people to believe in it, adhere to it, whatever, and you use violence and intimidation and by burning down businesses, that is domestic terror. That is domestic terror. You're terrorizing people until they believe how you believe. So I don't know what they think this is. This lady at MSNBC wants to call it a protest. She doesn't add in the violence part and the arson part, the destruction and vandalism. None of that. She heard Donald Trump say that. And between her ears, through her cashew-sized brain in her head, that's probably working overtime just to keep her heart beating and her lungs breathing, right to her dumb mouth, she says that if you protest, you will be labeled a terrorist and you will pay the price. I don't know what they think. Do they think we don't hear them? Do they think we didn't just hear what Trump said? Do they think we're stupid enough to believe that destruction is protest? We saw this during the George Floyd debacle. When we watched towns and businesses go up in flames. And the same media was trying to say that was fine. That was good. Yeah. There wasn't violence. They're protesting. We see this with our own eyes. We hear it with our ears. And they continue to lie right to us because I guess they're just playing a numbers game. I guess with 300 and some odd million people in this country, they figure they'll get through to enough of them that they can continue pushing that agenda and lying to the American people. But again, let me reiterate, the popularity and faith in the media ain't what it used to be, folks. The media used to have this thing. It was called journalistic integrity. Yes, kids, I swear. And what this was the currency of a reporter. A reporter can't just say to you, you don't know these people personally. They can't just say to you, hey, I'm a reporter. Trust everything I say. And then you go, oh, okay. It doesn't work that way. So their currency is integrity, journalistic integrity. And the way they earn that is by not lying to the people. You have a journalist, he's on the news, you watch him every night. And a week, 2 weeks go by, and you've heard all the stories he's told you over the course of the couple of weeks. And you think back and go, boy, those stories really did come to fruition. They played out like he said, and that guy was involved in this. And you start getting an understanding like this guy seems to know what he's talking about. He seems to have done his work, his footwork, talked to the right people, and he's conveying that to us. I will give him credit for having journalistic integrity. Yeah, Walter Cronkite back in the day. I now feel the Vietnam War cannot be. It is a stalemate. He had journalistic integrity. He had an agenda. I'm not, completely blind. But, now these people aren't even journalists. They don't want to. They're not allowed to search out certain stories and look into certain stories. Their bosses tell them no, yet they still sit there calling themselves journalists. It's disgusting. Disgusting. But that's the world we live in. And they still do it like we're supposed to believe them. I believed the news when I was a kid. First of all, you barely watched it when you were a kid. But as a younger adult and, in my teens when I started kind of getting an interest on what was going on in the world, I'd watch and pretty faithfully believe what I was being told. Now, I can't even look at people that believe them and not think they're idiots. Like, I think the news people are idiots. They're blatant liars. They're puppets. And then if you happen to watch it and believe it, I can't have any respect for you. Why would you buy into that? They've only proven themselves to be liars. Just liars. I remember the news. Sometimes the anchor. Remember the fun local news guys? I don't even know where they went. The anchor and the sports guy, the co-anchor, the weather girl, and they'd all be like a team, a news team. And their voiceover guy would be a news team you can trust. And I started thinking, like, why? Who's telling me I can trust you? Oh, you're telling me I can trust you. That was the first thing I started really thinking, like, why do I believe I can trust you when you're the only one telling me that I can trust you? So it is good to see a lot of people waking up to that nonsense. Anyway, oh my God. We will return in moments. Don't you go in. Don't touch that dial. It's the Anthony Cumia Show.
This is the Anthony Cumia Show. This is the Anthony Cumia Show.
Welcome back. Anthony Cumia Show. Thank you for hanging out with us this Sunday evening. Story that's kind of related a little bit to the one we were just talking about because it involves Tesla. The robo-taxis coming up supposedly in June, starting out in Austin and then branching out probably into California somewhere. But this is another one of Elon's babies. People say I glaze Elon a lot, which is, I love that term is so funny to me now. What are you glazing, Elon? Like, no, not glazing Elon. Thank you. I just appreciate somebody that thinks out of the box, that has had dreams of what the future should look like, and then actually pursues them, does something about it, tries to make these things that we all dreamt would have happened already. Year 2000. A lot of the stuff we're just seeing coming out now, technology-wise, and through a lot of innovations that SpaceX and Tesla have brought to the forefront, those are things we thought we were going to get in the year 2000, the mystical, futuristic year 2000. Holy moly, were we wrong. But Elon is that guy. So I don't even care if you don't like his politics. And again, pure emotion. These dummies, these nose rings and blue hair and whiny crybaby beta men, they can't get past their emotions to see what this guy has been up to for a while. You know, they don't see the Starlink satellites that are delivering high-speed internet to everywhere. Well, everywhere where, Anthony? On Earth. And then probably Mars at some point. Probably the moon first. But imagine getting high-speed internet on the moon. They're just up there like streaming. That's what the moon needs, podcasters. But he's doing amazing things. SpaceX. You're kidding me. You can't see the difference between the decades of NASA and the couple of decades of SpaceX and the achievements that have happened at SpaceX under Elon Musk. Just yesterday, they launched another ship to go to the space station and pick up the two poor bastards that are stuck up there. Because Boeing, with their DEI program, built a space capsule. They took these two sorry bastards up there, and then they went, yeah, something's wrong with the ship. We got to bring it down without yous in it. All right, when do we get home? No clue. And then Elon goes, hey, I've been taking ships back and forth up to that station for a while. You want a ride? I'll give you a ride. That's futuristic stuff. When you think like, wait, a guy could just send a ship up there and get the people that are stuck? That wasn't even in movies. In movies, if you were stuck up there, you were stuck. Now they're just sending I'll send a ship for you. We'll come and get you. So they sent one up. It just docked last night, early this morning, I guess. And they let off 4 people. They're bringing back these 2 astronauts. And it's amazing. It's very futuristic, which is, again, what we thought we'd be living in the year 2000. But this is the robo-taxi thing. And look, I've seen some of these other cars down there in Austin. They have like a lot of spinning sensors on the roof and cameras all over them. And it's kind of unnerving to get in these things. And it takes you within Austin. You know, you're not going to have it take you back to L.A. from Austin. But who knows what the Elon Musk future might bring. But he's got these cabs, and the difference is these have no steering wheels and no pedals. They don't have any controls for you to use, which is kind of scary if you think about it. But I don't know if it works. I guess that's what you hope for. The big thing I have, here's my big take on this: DWIs and no license. If you have one of these cars, because they're going to be available to the general public, you could buy one of these and then have it used as an Uber. You know how you would go out and drive your Uber? You'll send your car out to work as an Uber and it'll drive people places, and then it comes home at night. And that is something. But what about DWIs? Can you sit in this car and be drunk? And if the car gets pulled over, will you get a DWI? I know you can in a regular Tesla because it has a steering wheel and pedals. And you are supposed to be able to take control of that vehicle if it can't do it autonomously. But this poses an interesting question. What if you just don't have a license, but you have some money, you buy one of these, and now this car is taking you everywhere, and you have no responsibility to the state or the city to be licensed, and you could drink and be drunk because I'm not driving this thing. I can't drive this thing. It doesn't have the controls. So legally, this brings up a really interesting kind of conundrum that's going on. So it'll be interesting to see. Technology laws have a hard time catching up with technology. A lot of times there's this weird gray zone of time that goes by before the law catches up with technology. And that should be pretty interesting. Because if I was a young man and I enjoyed drinking, which I did when I was a young man, and I would go out with my friends driving, you know, your friends were all drunk too. They didn't want to be the designated driver. So you played police Pac-Man. You tried to get home. You'd look out the bar and go, that looks clear. You're trying to drive straight. You're trying to drive the speed limit. But, it was kind of tough. I would buy one of these. And then you just go out with your friends hammered and the car drives you home. You get pulled over. Hey, deal with my car. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm hammered. I don't need to talk to you. Interesting concept. We'll see what legally happens over the course of time. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Anthony Cumia Show.
It's the Anthony Cumia Show.
They were doing what they were paid to do. Shock.
And it has to do with Lady Liberty, the old lady in the harbor, the Statue of Liberty. Apparently, there's a guy over there in France. He is a member of the European Parliament. His name is Raphael Glucksmann. Raphael Glucksmann. From the French Parliament, and he wants the Statue of Liberty back. Yes, he says France should take it back because I don't know, we're not worthy of it anymore, I guess is what he's saying. Here's what old Raphael. We want this Statue of Liberty. The French. Oh, the nuts on these guys. The French bailed out time and time again. And then when everything's all honky-dory, they decide that they're now big man on campus and can start, pushing people around. We never forget the French. We'll never forget. So here's what he says. He goes, "We are going to say to Americans who have chosen to side with tyrants, to the Americans who fired researchers for demanding scientific freedom, give us back the Statue of Liberty," he told cheering supporters. "We gave it to you as a gift, but apparently you despise it. So it will be just fine here at home. We amore, the statue. I don't speak much French. I just do the accent like in movies. French people, German people in old American movies, they don't speak the language. All you need is an accent, and they know exactly what it is. What are you doing here? It's a German guy. Love it. Well, Raphael Glucksmann, I, Anthony Cumia, wholeheartedly agree with your demands. If it were up to me, it would be strapped to a tanker right now, heading eastward toward France. Because I'll tell you one thing, we've had it with the Statue of Liberty. Had it. Maybe it was a good idea when they first gave it to us, and I'm saying maybe. Because even then, it seemed like there were some ulterior motives there that I don't quite agree with. But this thing has been a burden to this country. How the hell did the shining light of freedom turn into a beacon welcoming every piece of garbage from every third world crap hole to just come here like it's an invitation? Thanks, France. Imagine giving someone a gift and it's a sign put on their lawn that just says, hey, if you don't have any place to live, just come into this house. And you leave the door open and you just put it there and go, hey, I gave you a gift. Oh, what is it? It's the sign out front. It's telling everybody that no matter how terrible of a person they are, they have full range to just walk into your house and grab a bed, maybe your daughter, whatevs. Hell of a gift there, France. And then in, I guess, early 1900s, 1901, some broad decided to write something they put on the plaque that doubles down on the whole, hey, we'll take every piece of garbage that you want to send us. And since then, it's just been this invitation to some of the worst people ever. So, yeah, France, you want it back? Take it. And then LBJ, and we know what kind of trouble he made when he was president, he decides to combine Statue of Liberty and Liberty Island, which I'm not even sure was called Liberty Island at the time, with Ellis Island to make it like a thing so that everyone will just think, oh, Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty. Again, joining the whole immigration thing with the statue that was just supposed to say, hey, this place is awesome. It's America, and people came here. They ran away from oppression. They built this nation. That's amazing. Not that our door is open to any piece of crap that wants to walk in. So again, Raphael, France, please unburden us with this from this disaster that you put on our shores. And they put it right where all the immigrant boats came into New York so everyone could see it. It all just had this motive. Like it's some invitation. No, we don't want you. I think Archie Bunker said it best back on All in the Family. Another just amazing program from back then, obviously. The character was great. And the stuff he said was so funny and put in such a way that I think Norman Lear, especially, and the writers probably, and Carol O'Connor, especially, because he was crazy liberal. I'm sure he thought that when people saw Archie Bunker, they were going to be so disgusted and offended by this character that, Meathead and some of his liberal friends would just make Archie look stupid. And that it would show how bad bigotry is in the United States and how stupid bigots are. Meanwhile, most people watching were like, I love this Archie Bunker guy because he's right about everything. So it kind of backfired, but thank God we still have it. It's still on TV. They haven't gotten to the point where they're removing that. And boy, they're just some amazing things. This was Archie Bunker talking about Lady Liberty, and it's just perfect.
An American history lesson. You don't know nothing about Lady Liberty. Standing there in the harbor with her torch on high, screaming out to all the nations of the world, send me your poor, your deadbeats, you filthy. And all the nations sent them in here. They come swarming in like ants. Your Spanish PRs from the Caribbean there. Your Japs, your Chinamen, your Crouch and your Hebes, and your Lincoln Spags. All of them come in here, and they're all free to live in their own separate sections. Where they feel safe, and then bust your head if you go in there. That's what makes America great, buddy.
Yes, it does. That is what makes America great, Archie. God, was that just perfect. So if you want your Statue of Liberty back, feel free. It's worn out. It's welcome with us. God, that was so funny. Shows back then, just a whole nother animal, man. They could say and do things. And to think, though, they were the producers, the writers, the actors, all hardcore liberal. And that just goes to show you what liberals were back then, the difference between liberals back then and liberals now. Liberals back then wanted you to see this stuff. A lot of times it misfired like that, where they thought people were going to hate Archie and they ended up loving him. But they wanted to present that. They wanted people to see bigots. They wanted people to see things they disagreed with or had arguments with, because then they could argue it, they could debate it, and they could say, wow, look at that. We presented this to you to show you how terrible something is. Now, their goals are just to silence anyone with a dissenting viewpoint on things that they, are emotionally disturbed about. You see it all the times. And I've been victim to it a few times, speaking on college campuses. It's a joke. The fact that, you need security if you have anything but the furthest of left wing ideology, you would need security because they will try to stop you. If they have to physically harm you or destroy your gear that you need to speak or your vehicle that you need to get to and from the venue, they will do it because they want to silence you. I've said it a few times, the freedom of speech thing, that First Amendment. A lot of people accuse the left of trying to curtail your First Amendment right, your freedom of speech. And that's one thing. But more importantly, they are trying to curtail everyone's freedom to listen, which is a very important part. I could sit here and turn the microphone off and the lights and the camera and everything and say anything I want and no one's hearing it. So how dangerous could I possibly be? And how controversial could my ideology and thoughts be? It's only when there's a couple of ears to hear what I'm saying that people might deem it dangerous. So a lot of these colleges and a lot of these left-wing protesters, when they're trying to silence you, the people that want to hear the person they're trying to silence should be the most angry because they're trying to keep you from hearing something that you might enjoy or agree with or disagree with and want to dish out a lively debate with the person. They would rather just have it not happen at all. No, don't even hear this. Why? Because I don't think it's good for people to hear this. Who are you to say that we shouldn't hear this? Well, I'm someone that knows better because I'm much better educated. I know what's right. I know you're a Nazi. I know, like they have no real reason. And years ago, like I just said, with a lot of these shows that were on back in the 70s, they were liberals. They were liberals that wanted to present this stuff. And it did open up a lot of conversation. People they wanted to talk about these things, but mostly it was just entertaining, which is great. That's something that I think has been long forgotten, left in a faraway wake. The entertaining part of entertainment. Everything has this agenda to it, this underlying. Oh, is this a comedy show? Yeah, it's comedy. You like it? Yeah. Not really. There are some comics, I know a lot of comics. Some of them, they kind of got infected. They kind of got the bug and got infected with wokeness. And now they throw around their weight under the guise of comedy, yet it's pretty much the same old left-wing agenda. I think it has to do with wanting to get a show. See, I never changed any of my attitudes, my beliefs, what I talk about. I never really changed that around. Some of these guys, though, you sling a Disney contract in front of some people. It's amazing what they'll do. It's amazing how quickly their whole mindset changes on certain things that they were so passionate about before. And then they sign a deal with someone and all of a sudden, hey, they got a new attitude, as they say. So anyway, if you want to take the Statue of Liberty back, do we have to trade something? You could take it back. What, the Eiffel Tower? I think it was the same guy, Eiffel. I think he is responsible for the Statue of Liberty, too. And that thing's just kind of a joke. Let's be real. The Eiffel Tower. I never wanted to go to France. I've never wanted to go there. I don't know what it is. Growing up as a post-war guy, 20 years later, I was born in like the 60s. But growing up at that time, there were things that you just knew as a kid. And I don't even know how you learned them. Everything made in Japan was junk. So I remember growing up. It was Japanese junk. And the French were cowardly, and not really willing to throw down in a fight if something happened. We just knew this. I don't know where we learned it, just from our friends. And I would gather it was from our fathers. Our dads probably had quite the opinion about who were called the frogs years ago, and certain other ethnicities that were involved in the war. So those things, they made for really funny, inappropriate jokes that these days you probably couldn't say. But yeah, so it's just weird to think sometimes. I know I go off on a tangent here, but it's weird to think sometimes where you got some of these things from that you just, Polish jokes. And you're like, oh, they're supposed to not be as intelligent as everyone else because it's a joke. And, Italian, I remember hearing jokes about Italian women, and the punchline was always how hairy they were. The arms, the legs. The punchline was like, I think one punchline was, I'm not wearing black gloves, for some Italian joke. But we as kids didn't put much, there wasn't a hate in it or anything. It was just kind of fun. And like the shows, they were fun. If they wanted to get a message across, fine, but at least make it fun. I think that all ended with the 80s special episodes of sitcoms where they would, we all remember Different Strokes and the WKRP general manager that owned the bike store. That was a child molestation episode, and it was just, it's tough to watch. But it's like, why would you do that to a sitcom? They just worked it up where more and more sitcoms had those special episodes dealing with, torn from the headlines, drug use. Like, oh, this is going to be one of those episodes where the audience doesn't laugh. They just go, oh. Tom Hanks on Family Ties, I think it was. And he punches Alex Keaton in the face. Oh, I hated those. God, did I hate those. Off on a little bit of a tear. But, oh, my God. Yeah, so take it back. We don't care. We don't care about your Statue of Liberty. How come that wasn't a monument they all wanted to tear down when they were tearing down Confederate monuments or Americana or American traditions? And they were taking those to the forges and foundries to just melt them down. What about the Statue of Liberty? I'm sure not all of us agree with that, do we? All right, kids. We will be back in moments. Don't you go anywhere.
It's the Anthony Cumia Show. Whipping out free speech. It's the Anthony Cumia Show.
Yes, indeed. Whipping out. Is that an old O&A reference? I think so. Shock jock days. Yeah, welcome back. Anthony Cumia Show. Glad you join us this Sunday evening. Very cool of you. And I appreciate the support. A lot of it coming in. I'm seeing it all over social media, and I definitely appreciate it. Tim Walz is still going around. Why? Didn't vice presidents candidate, not even vice presidents disappear when their usefulness is done? And usually they're not very useful anyway, but they just go away. A failed vice presidential candidate. Why are you still doing anything? Didn't Walter Mondale just disappear after the thrashing Reagan Bush gave him and Carter? Didn't he just disappear? Why is Walz still jumping around like it was close? Oh, he almost had him. This is what the Democrats do. You see Kamala every so often, she'll pop her dumb head up, say something incredibly stupid while probably hammered. And you go, why? Sometimes Hillary crawls out from under her rock to say something incredibly stupid. AOC, she's still in the game, but this Tim Walz guy is just playing by the Democrat handbook, which is don't acknowledge that no one likes us, and we completely dropped the ball during this last election. They just go out like nothing happened. This is the George Costanza quit and then go, what do I do? Just go in like you didn't quit. They're showing up. They're doing news shows. They're talking about their policies, by the way, like people loved them. Like people loved their policies, whatever they were. They didn't really get too deep into that one. But they don't have a second play, is what I usually say on this topic is, the playbook that they have has one play in it. And after you use it a couple of times, everyone goes, oh, that's what you do. They have not come up with anything to change a single item on their agenda, what they want people to think of them. When you think Democrat, politician, what do you think? And it's not good. It's not good. And they go, well, how do we change that? Well, by bitching about the border and how many people are being deported, and egg prices. Well, they're going down, and so are gas prices. How about climate change? No, that didn't work either. They just stick to the same garbage, and it didn't work then, and it ain't going to work now. And what's Walz gearing up for? A run? Is he going to try to for a presidential run in 2028? Hilarious, I must say. Here's a clip of him talking about his failed bid, and listen to this pompous idiot not taking the slightest bit of responsibility for them losing horribly. Listen to Mr. Tim Walz.
But this issue around healthcare and the issue around Medicare and the things we're talking about, we've got people now that are exactly like this story, worried about basic human right of health care and decency in their life. And I own this. The idea that millions of people stayed home because they didn't think there was any difference between Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, and myself on the ticket, they didn't think that. And we need to acknowledge that.
What? So he's trying to say here, if I'm right, that people stayed home and didn't come out and vote for Harris-Walz because they just thought there wasn't a difference between Trump and Harris. That's what he's running with. You want to stick with that one, Tim? That's what people knew there was an insane difference between Trump and Harris. And that's why Trump got every swing state and blew you guys out of the water. How does he not see that? He's definitely making a run. He is definitely making a run. They stayed home because they just were like, oh, Trump says he wants to close the border day one. That's exactly what Harris is saying. I can't even tell the difference. He's an idiot. All right, let's hear a little more from Mr. Tim Walz.
I think one of the reasons is that when Democrats have been in power, we've been timid about passing things that make a difference on their lives. And why do we have citizens that are in this situation? Why are we at that point when we are the richest nation on earth and yet our outcomes are 41st and we spend twice as much as any nation next to us? We should demand a redo of this system in a way that makes a difference on that, because I think it's very hard that we have to win elections, but
okay, you could
good
cut him off now.
Good.
I've had enough. I want to apologize to the listeners to have to listen to that idiot again. But yeah, he talks. They all talk this game about changing things. And he says, like, we put all these resources into something. I assume he's talking about healthcare. And he goes, and then it turns out the results were 41st. Yeah, why? Because of corruption. Because you can't stop stealing money from the taxpayers. And Trump is doing that. Trump and Elon are trying to look through these books and say, oh, my God, you guys are robbing us blind. And then this guy and everyone else goes, oh, the people are terrible. They're trying to get their hands on your money. They're trying to cut this and that. It's because of the corruption and because thieves like you people have been in there fleecing the taxpayer forever. Oh, my God. He doesn't get it. Maybe he does and he's just lying. But like I said, one play in the playbook. Go on and talk about how awesome you are. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much to you for supporting me, the staff that helped me out with the show tonight. And I will see you all back here next week, Sunday at 8. Until then, have a great week, people.